Ever tried to like change your address on a website?
Just a quick update seems simple enough,
Uh,
right? Well, get ready to have your mind blown because today's deep dive is all about what's going on behind the scenes to make those updates happen.
yeah.
And let me tell you, it's way more interesting than you might think.
Oh, it really is, yeah. We're diving deep into the world of databases.
Ooh,
Yeah,
database.
these massive collections of information
Okay.
that power pretty much everything we do online.
Everything.
And the way websites talk to these databases, especially when they need to update something,
Yeah.
often uses something called MySQLi.
MySQLi.
MySQL.
It sounds a little,
A little techie, maybe?
it is a bit technical, but stick with me. It's really fascinating stuff. Think of a database like a giant, super organized spreadsheet, right?
I'm with you.
In our case, the source material uses this example of a student table.
Okay.
So you would have columns, in your spreadsheet for student IDs, what classes they're taking, grades, all that information.
So it's like a digital gradebook.
Exactly, a digital gradebook.
Okay.
Now, MySQLi, that's what lets the website talk to that gradebook
Okay.
and make changes without breaking everything.
Important.
Accuracy is key here, but you know what's even more important?
What's that?
Security. We got to keep things safe.
Right, because you don't want just anyone messing with the gradebook.
Exactly.
So, like, if the school needs to update everyone's class to World History 101, MySQLi is the tool that makes it happen. But, like, in a way that doesn't let some random person change everyone's grades to A.
Exactly. That's the key. And the source actually gives us an example of how to do just that, updating all records in a table.
Okay.
Now, don't worry. We're not going to bore you with every single line of code.
Thank goodness.
But the big idea is that it shows you how to make those mass updates safely.
Okay, that makes sense.
Safety first. We don't want any accidental or intentional grade inflations happening.
No, we don't.
But what about when you're not changing everything?
Right.
What about just like one specific thing? Like my address on that website.
Okay, yeah. That's where things get really interesting. We're talking about using parameters.
Parameters. Okay.
Think of it like filling out a form online.
Okay.
Each blank space is a parameter,
A placeholder.
a placeholder for your specific information.
So instead of changing everyone's class, you can target specific students with specific updates.
Exactly.
Okay.
And here's where it gets even more clever, right?
Right.
The source mentions this psi thing.
Psi.
Yeah, psi. I know. It sounds a little, maybe not that exciting.
Well, no judgment here. I've been fascinated by less. What is this psi magic?
Well, it's all about making sure the right kind of information gets put in the right place.
Okay.
So that stands for string, which is really just a fancy way of saying text.
Text.
Like your name or your address. And then the I, that stands for integer,
Integer. Gotcha.
which is a number, like a zip code.
So it's like a code that tells the website, hey, this is text, this is a number.
Yeah.
That's how our
It's all about data integrity.
data integrity.
Making sure your zip code doesn't end up in the phone number field.
Oh, right, because that would be
That
bad.
would cause all sorts of havoc.
Chaos.
Chaos.
Digital streets.
Exactly.
Now that makes perfect sense. But websites aren't perfect, are they?
What happens when something goes wrong?
That's a great point. Websites, they can be glitchy,
Yeah.
and that's where error handling comes in.
Error handling. Okay.
Specifically, something called try-catch.
Try cache.
Is that like a digital safety net?
It is a digital safety net.
Okay.
Imagine you're typing in your credit card number on a shopping site.
Yeah, I've been there.
You make a typo.
Oh, no.
Without error handling, the whole website could crash.
Really?
Yeah.
Just from one little typo.
It could.
Wow.
Try-catch is like having a backup generator. It catches those errors and prevents a total meltdown.
Okay, that's a relief.
So it's catching typos before they bring down the entire internet.
It's a very important job.
Wow. I'm starting to see why this is so important, even if I never write a line of code myself.
But are there, like, different ways to do this error handling thing, or is it one size fits all?
Another good question. The source actually mentions two main styles,
Okay.
procedural and object-oriented.
Procedural object-oriented.
Now, I know it sounds complicated, but think of it like choosing between two different routes to get to the same destination.
Okay.
They both get you there, but they might take slightly different approaches.
So it's not that one is better than the other, but different approaches might be more efficient depending on the situation.
Precisely. It's about choosing the right tool for the job, or, in this case, the right style for the code.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've covered a lot about how this MySQLi thing works.
Yeah, we've made some good progress.
But what does this actually mean for me?
Like, as someone who, well, might not ever write a line of code,
Right.
I'm not planning on building a website anytime soon, but I am planning on using the internet, like, every day.
Of course. That's a great question. And it gets to the heart of why we do these deep dives. Because even if you never build a website from scratch, just understanding these concepts makes you a more informed internet citizen.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, think about it. Every time you fill out an online form, you buy something online, even just logging into your favorite
So all those actions are triggering these MySQL commands behind the scenes.
That's exactly it.
Suddenly, my online life feels a lot more complex.
It is complex, but that's where this knowledge comes in handy.
Okay.
When you understand how this stuff works, you can start to see the bigger picture.
Right.
You'll be more aware of potential security risks,
Okay.
more discerning about the information you share online, just generally more savvy about how the digital world operates.
It's like having, like, a secret decoder ring for the internet.
I love that analogy.
I like it.
And the more you know,
Yeah.
the more you realize how much there is to learn.
Oh, I bet.
For example, we've talked a lot about updating information in databases.
Yeah.
But what about adding new information?
Ooh, good point.
We've covered changing addresses and bumping up grades, but what about when you're creating a brand new account on a website? That's got to involve some serious database work, right?
Absolutely. Adding new information securely is a whole other ballgame.
Okay.
It comes with its own set of MySQL commands and security measures,
Right.
and it's just as important as updating information, if not more so.
Okay. Transactions, safety net. Fascinating twist. You've definitely got my attention.
Okay, so imagine this. You're editing, like, a super important document,
Okay.
making a ton of changes. You're feeling good about it.
Yeah.
And then, bam, you realize you made a tiny mistake early on
Oh.
that just throws everything else out of whack.
Ugh, the worst. Especially if it's like a spreadsheet where one wrong number messes up all the other numbers.
I feel your pain.
Spreadsheets. Don't get me started.
I hear you. But wouldn't it be amazing if you could just, like, hit undo on the whole thing?
Yeah.
Just revert back to the original before all the chaos.
Like a giant reset button. Sign me up.
Well, that's essentially what transactions do.
Okay.
In the world of MySQL.
Really?
You can group a bunch of updates together.
Uh-huh.
And only if every single one of them goes through without a hitch do they actually become permanent.
So it's like an all or nothing deal?
It's an all or nothing deal.
For database changes. Okay. That's next level protection right there.
Exactly. It's all about maintaining that data consistency, making sure everything stays accurate, reliable.
I like it.
Now, imagine you've made those changes, everything's gone smoothly, thanks to our friend transactions.
Okay.
What happens next?
Well, I would hope to actually see those changes reflected somewhere.
Right, otherwise it's like sending a letter and never knowing if it arrived.
You got it. That is a perfect analogy. That's where fetching updated records
Yeah.
comes in.
Okay.
So after that database update magic happens,
Uh-huh.
the website needs a way to retrieve that new information
Okay.
and then, of course, display it to you.
So that's why you sometimes see, like, a little confirmation message after changing your address or updating a profile picture.
Yes,
It's the website's way of saying, yep, we got your new info.
precisely. It's a crucial step
Okay.
to make sure that what you see on the website actually matches what's stored in the database behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, right. Because it's one thing for the database to have it, but if the website's not displaying it correctly, then what's the point, right?
Exactly.
This is all so fascinating. We've covered a lot about how this MySQLi thing works, but, what does this actually mean for me as someone who, well, might not ever write a line of code?
Sure.
Like, I'm not planning on building a website anytime soon.
But I am planning on using the internet, like every day.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's a great question. And it gets to the heart of why we do these deep dives.
Okay.
Because even if you never build a website from scratch, just understanding these concepts,
Yeah.
it makes you a more informed internet citizen.
Creating a new account. Okay, so we're talking about I'm entering my name, my email, creating a password, all that good stuff,
Yeah.
all that juicy information that websites need.
Right.
But how does that actually get into the database?
In a way that's, not an open invitation for hackers to just waltz right in.
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And the answer, as you might expect, lies in those really carefully crafted MySQL commands.
Okay.
So when you hit that sign up button,
Yeah.
you're essentially triggering this whole chain reaction.
Okay. So I'm imagining like a digital Rube Goldberg machine,
I love it.
but with like less falling dominoes and more database entries.
Yeah, you're on the right track. MySQLi, it has specific commands for adding these new rows to a database table.
Okay.
But here's the catch.
Yeah.
It's not just like shoving all that information in there all willy-nilly.
Right. There's got
to be some thought put into this, right?
Yeah.
Like some security. I mean,
a lot of thought.
yeah.
A lot of thought goes into it.
We wouldn't want like my super secret password ending up in the wrong hands.
No. And that's where things like data validation
Okay.
and encryption come in.
Okay.
So before your information even gets close to that database,
Right.
the website, it should be checking it, making sure it's in the right format.
Yeah.
So is it actually an email address that you just typed in?
Uh-huh.
Is the password actually strong enough?
Right. So it's like a bouncer at a digital club,
I love it.
making sure everything's legit before you even get past the velvet rope.
That's a great analogy. And then on top of that, there's encryption,
Right.
which is like scrambling your information into this secret code
Uh-huh.
that only the website knows how to unscramble.
Gotcha.
That way,
Yeah.
even if somebody manages to peek into the database directly, it's just meaningless gibberish.
Okay, well, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Good, good.
I'm starting to like have this newfound respect for those sign-up buttons
Yeah.
because there's a lot more going on
Oh, yeah.
than meets the eye.
Way more than meets the eye. And the more you understand about those processes, the more you appreciate that balance
Right.
between functionality and security.
Right.
That these websites, they have to deal with every single day.
It's like a constant game of digital cat and mouse.
Yeah.
Like, you've got the good guys trying to keep our information safe, and then, well, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to stay informed, ask these questions,
Right.
never take online security for granted.
Well said. Well said. I think we've given our listeners plenty to think about today.
I think so too.
From updating addresses to protecting passwords, it turns out there is a whole lot of MySQLi magic happening behind the scenes
A lot of magic.
of our favorite websites.
It's been a pleasure diving into this with you.
Oh, the feeling is mutual.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, the next time that you are online, take a moment to appreciate, the intricate dance of databases and code that's making it all possible.
Yeah.
It might just change how you experience the internet. Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep learning.
Keep learning and keep asking, what's the code behind that?